A project is one possible form of work among many other forms of work, such as an assignment, an investigation, and normal line work, to name but a few examples. When we choose to carry out our work in the form of a project, it should actually mean something. It is no good simply saying that this should be a project if we really don't know what we mean by that or what it entails to work in project form. Be careful when you choose your form of work. Not everything needs to be managed in the form of a project, but when we do actually choose to conduct our work as a project, then it should mean something, namely that we will be using the project's must-haves. There are 3 main must-haves in a project: roles, activities, and documents. We must appoint staff to perform certain roles, we must carry out certain activities, and we must produce certain documents when we choose to work in project form. This in itself does not mean that we have to find the time and energy to do all this in relation to every work task that we are faced with. Once again, not everything needs to be managed in the form of a project. Examples of must-have roles in a project include the client. Singular form, always a specifically named person, never refer to a group as the client. The project manager, once again, always a specifically named person, and the performers, those who shall carry out the work. Examples of must-have activities in a project include performing risk analyses, conducting follow-ups, and starting the procedure for changes. Examples of must-have documents in a project include the requirements specification, the project definition, and the agreement between the client and the project manager. Make sure you are careful when it comes to discussing and choosing the appropriate form of work before you start a task or assignment. If the task or assignment is to be managed in the form of a project, then this should be done to the fullest extent. In other words, with all the must-haves. If, on the other hand, the task or assignment is not to be carried out as a project, we need to decide what other form of work to use instead. Perhaps it is an assignment for which not all of the must-haves are necessary. Even if we decide that a task or assignment is not to be carried out in the form of a project, we can still benefit from using some of the must-haves in relation to that task or assignment. For example, we can perform a risk analysis for a non-project, and we can enter into an agreement for an assignment, even though that assignment is not to be carried out as a project. However, if we do decide to resolve a task or assignment in the form of a project, we should do so to the fullest extent. In other words, with all the project's must-haves. In this context, we are referring to mental and ideal must-haves, not legal must-haves.